Nerd Box.
Hi, Fiends. Thanks for joining me on DonnaJean's Coffee House of Horror. I am really excited because I have with me today NancyAnne Ritter. Nancy played the girl in the bathroom in the original Scream, not the cheerleader, the other girl. And you know, even though that seemed like a small role, it was such a significant role, and it helped to build an introduction to so many of the characters and to the franchise, which is Scream. Hey, everybody. I would like to, before we start to question NancyAnne, to introduce you to Jennifer Partenio. Jennifer is my cohort in crime on Nerdbox, and thank you so much for joining us, Jennifer. And you know, Jen's really the reason I had to invite her into this is that Jen is, I wouldn't say obsessed with Scream, but Scream is kind of like infiltrated her whole family. So welcome to the coffee house, Jen. It's so good to have you here.
I've never been to the coffee house. I'm happy to be here.
Neither have I. This is so exciting.
Now, NancyAnne, before we start getting too much into the questions about Scream, I heard tell through an interview that I heard that you started acting at a reasonably young age. Was that the case?
I started when I was 9 I grew up just outside Washington, D.C., and there's a great theater community. So once I started at 9 years old, I just went from play to play to play and just was so in love with the theater and getting to work with great adult actors. And then that led me to, rather than going to my neighborhood high school, I went to Duke Ellington School of the Arts in Washington, D.C. And that was such a joy and a very intense program. It was 8:30 to 1. And then 1 to 5, all of our theater classes. And then I went on to Northwestern University and was a theater major there. And then branched out, surprisingly to me, I went to LA and not New York when I was 22. And then Scream happened when I turned 23 in 1996.
So Scream was your first actual film?
Yes. So when I was at Duke Ellington, the only on-camera experience I had were little industrial films for the Department of Labor when I was 16. So Scream was my first movie, and but coming from the theater, to be on that film set was just such a different environment and space and experience. So I was very, very nervous with doing it. Whereas the cheerleader, Leonora, who's so great, she had done films before Scream, and she grew up in a film family. So thankfully Leonora, the cheerleader, was so great and kind and generous with me that she made me feel a lot more as comfortable as I could possibly feel. And then Wes Craven himself is just such a lovely, I hate talking about him in the past tense, but he was just so lovely and gentle and made me feel, just his calm nature made me feel so embraced by him as well.
Jen, did you had some questions about Scream you wanted to run past her?
So now, did you go in just reading for the girl in the bathroom, or did you read for anything else?
Okay, so I read for the cheerleader, and I'm sure so many fans have heard this, but what is fun about how it happened was Julie Plec, I'll just say this super fast. Julie Plec, a good friend of mine from Northwestern, was Wes Craven's assistant at that time, and she called me randomly And Julie says, "How tall are you?" I said, "I'm 5'7". And she said, "Great. Wes Craven is screen testing 5 actresses for the lead role of Sydney." And she said the average height of the 5 actresses is 5'7". So she said, Wes would like you to be the female stand-in for Sydney, just to be able to get the camera set up the way he wants for the correct height and the lighting. So halfway, they didn't need me the first half of the day, so I just kind of stood behind Wes Craven because he had a good view of his monitor and the 2 scenes. And halfway through the day, Wes turned around to me and he asked me, "Do you know the lines to the 2 scenes?" And I said yes, because I'd been watching them. And the 2 scenes were the scene where Skeet crawls into Nev Campbell's bedroom, and they have that little rated G top of the nightgown action. And then the second scene was when the killer first calls Sydney. And so Wes had a male stand-in to play Skeet's role. And so we immediately did that first scene, and then I did the phone call scene. And Wes Craven, very shockingly to me, beelined right up to me, and he shook my hand and he said, "That was excellent." And as he went out of this kind of warehouse space to check on the next actress, he raised his hand up and he said, "Have her read for one of the bathroom girls." And so at that point, so that's how that all, the floodgates opened once Wes kind of put his little stamp of approval. And Lisa Beach, who's an amazing casting director and would cast Scream as well, she came running over and she said, "Once we finish casting the lead parts, we'll start bringing in actors for the smaller roles." So I initially read for the cheerleader, and they couldn't have chosen a better cheerleader in Leonora. I think it's one of the worst auditions in my whole life that I've ever given. And usually when you first audition for a film, it's usually just you and the casting director. And if the casting director likes you, they'll call you back. And then eventually you'll meet the director. But when I went in, I think I knew this going in, but it was still made me so nervous. So Wes Craven was already in the audition with his producing partner and Lisa Beach. And so even though I knew all of them, I went and shook each of their hands. And when I shook Wes's hand, he started bowing to me. And I was like, okay, this is amazing. But I think, and I at first I was like, oh, what have I done? And I know he was being, of course, just very sweet. But I didn't have a cheerleader costume, so I just had on this little baby doll T-shirt that said "Girls Rule," and so I think that that's why he was bowing. But I brought in so many makeup props for that audition that I just, coming from the theater, I just was so clueless. So needless to say, I did not get cast, obviously, as the cheerleader. And I want to say, if I remember correctly, I feel like they first called to say, "We definitely want you in the movie." But I always say, if I remember correctly, I feel like they initially were going to put me in the big party scene at Stu's house at the end. And I don't know if you remember, there were 2 girls, a blonde girl and then a curly kind of black haired girl. And they both are little fans of Courtney Cox. And I think initially that's what they were looking at me for. And then randomly, on pretty quickly after that, they called on like a Tuesday and they said, "Wes has moved up the shooting schedule and he's moved the bathroom scene up to maybe start filming right after they filmed Drew Barrymore's scene." And they said, "We'd like you to be the girl in the bathroom." And they were like, "Would you like to do that?" And I was like, "Let me get back to you." and I was like, "Yes, totally." And so they really, I think, had me on a flight the very next day, and out of Burbank Airport, and we flew into Oakland and then drove the really beautiful drive up to Santa Rosa. So it literally happened so quickly. And then I think by that, flew up on a Wednesday, we had Thursday to just kind of acclimate, and then we were on the set by that Friday. And since I hadn't auditioned for the girl in the bathroom, I had to really throw myself into who is this girl? And since I had auditioned for the cheerleader, and but that was, yeah, it just happened so quickly. And yeah, it was a whirlwind, and we were all in a DoubleTree Inn, and Lisa Beach, the casting director, had flown up with me, and her room was next to mine, and then Leonora was next to mine, and Lisa came knocking on the door. She's like, "Let's go to happy hour in the hotel lounge," and I was like, okay, that'll make me feel a little more comfortable. And then we rehearsed the bathroom scene in Leonora's bathroom, which was pretty tiny, and we used her bathtub as the 2 bathroom stalls, and then stepped out of the bathtub. But that was helpful just to have FaceTime with Leonora and kind of figure out everything. And then, yeah, we were on, they did Henry Winkler's death scene, where he gets stabbed, as you all know, before our scene. And so we got to see Henry Winkler in his bloody principal shirt. And then we were, Henry Winkler had lunch with us, and then he was done he was done and dead for the day. His character. And then, yeah, we were, they had built this amazingly realistic bathroom, because I'm sure you guys remember the credits at the end of the film where it says "No thanks whatsoever" to the Santa Rosa High School. And they had pulled letting the movie shoot there. So people have asked me if so all I can remember is the bathroom set was in a big warehouse space, and I know the principal's office was there. If any of the other locker room scenes were there, because the lights were so bright just on the bathroom scene, I don't know what else was in that space. But I couldn't believe when you walk into the bathroom. I mean, it was a full high school bathroom with toilets in every stall, and just the detail, because it was fully and enclosed. I always say, if I remember correctly, it felt like fully enclosed with 4 walls, and then they had to do our close-ups, they removed each bathroom mirror. So it didn't even feel like a set. It just felt, the moment you walked in to the bathroom, that you were in the high school bathroom.
So any wild and crazy stories about what happened at that happy hour?
Oh, well, I know I'm such a blabbermouth, but before the happy hour, so I was so skinny, and so alcohol and mead didn't really mix well when I was at Northwestern University. I had blacked out and then had to do 9 hours of alcohol counseling, and they were like, "We're going to call your parents." And I was like, no, please, I don't. I said, "It's just a freak accident," which it really was. I mean, so when I got to LA, I was being careful. But what was so funny, on the flight up, before even the happy hour, the production director who'd called me and booked the ticket, he said, "Lisa Beach, the casting director, will be on your flight." He said, "But I purposefully am not seating you next to her because she's terrified of flying and she'll scream the whole way." So then when we got picked up by the van, Lisa was like, "I have a flask of whiskey." And she's like, "Do you want some?" And I was like, "Okay." So that was actually more, I don't even remember the happy hour. But I'd already had some of the whiskey, so I'm sure I was too nervous at the happy hour. But I do remember when we finished the bathroom scene, I was still a virgin, but if I would drink too much, I went to the lighting guy's hotel room and did things I probably, made choices I probably shouldn't have with alcohol. But then so that was that time. And then when I flew up for the wrap party, and I'll make sure to keep this G-rated, everyone came. Like Leonora had her partner with her, David Arquette and Courtney Cox. They were already in their relationship. Rose McGowan had someone with her. So the main cast were all paired up, and I and everyone else. And so they flew me up there, but I didn't think to bring a friend. So I walk in all alone, and the cheerleader comes and scoops me up, and she brings me to the table with all, because Leonora knew some of the main cast really well. So she was like, sit with us. And I look around and it's Courtney Cox. And I was like, I got to go to the bar because it was an open bar. And I got just a little bit of vodka just to feel more comfortable. But because at one point, Courtney Cox and I were just at the table by ourselves. And it just was the Hollywood scene was just so foreign to me. What was really cool is you just realize, I mean, they're just people like anybody else. But what I thought was fun was, I think after the jazz band finished playing, David Arquette got up on the little stage and he kind of started emceeing. And I know Nev Campbell has a dance background, so she kind of got up and was doing like flamenco dancing or just kind of dancing. And then Courtney Cox is a really good drummer, so she started drumming on the drums that were there. And I was like, holy cow. And when she finished, I went up to her and I said, you were amazing on the drums. She was like, oh no, I was really off my game tonight. And I'm paraphrasing, but that was basically what she said. But what was fun about that is once we all left the club, we all went back. Somehow we all, Wes Craven, the producers, the whole cast and crew, we wound up in a person's hotel room, which had 2 double beds, was pretty small. And somehow we were all packed in there like sardines, and everyone had their clothes on. It wasn't, it hadn't descended into Boogie Nights, the movie. But I think I was pretty toddy by that point. Was not a cigarette smoker, but somehow I had a pack of cigarettes and I was smoking away, and Wes came up and he's like, can I have one? And I was like, sure. And everyone was it was just like, felt like brothers and sisters all hanging out. And unfortunately, I saw a cute boy walk in and I was like, oh, I'm going to go off with him. And everything ended up being fine. Well, no, I won't go. Anyways, some choices, but well, I actually wish I would have stayed, but I went off with this cute boy. Again, I'm still a virgin. But because I'd had a good amount to drink, I wasn't quite, I mean, I wasn't stumbling drunk, but I wish I would have stayed in this room because everyone was there. But it was the hotel room. It just, that part of it was so fun because that's when I felt the wrap party was when I felt so enveloped by everyone, because by the time they finished filming, maybe in May or June of the party scene and everything, then they had to edit the film. So by the time they had a little cast and crew screening, there'd been so much distance from it. And I was allowed to bring a few friends. And then the premiere is always so big because then they've got the other famous people like the rest of the Friends cast. So it's such a big thing. And I brought my roommate, who was a good classmate friend of mine from Northwestern. But I think the most intimate and fun time that I felt was at that wrap party, just because it was a smaller group of us. And what was fun about the premiere is getting to watch it with an audience who I'd seen it at the cast crew screening. So seeing it in a packed movie theater with people, a lot of people hadn't seen it, just like the full blood curdling screams and gasps. And my roommate was full on screaming, and that was just making me laugh so hard. And so it just was a fun ride. But that wrap party was the most fun. And the one other thing they did, the editors at the wrap party, they did a blooper reel. So I wish they could release it like with the DVD or Blu-ray. This blooper reel was hilarious, and it was throughout. There were no bloopers from the bathroom scene, but at one point when Nev Campbell goes to open the closet door in her home, and they make you think the killer's going to be in there, but but he isn't. One time Wes was in that coat closet with the knife and she really did. And just funny things like that. And then they did, what was really neat was editors did 3 tribute reels. So one to Drew Barrymore from E.T. forward to being an adult, Courtney Cox from when she was like 17 when Bruce Springsteen brought her up on stage, and then Henry Winkler with his early TV with Happy Days. And it was just so touching and a really beautiful, and not just a fast thing. It was really a tribute to the 3 of them. And so all of that was just really special. And I hope I gave you good drinking stories, Jennifer.
Did you ever think when you were, in this movie, having these like few lines that this movie would blow up and be as big as it is?
When I can say honestly, I'm not surprised. When I read the script in the Valley in my teeny apartment on my twin bed, just reading it, that first scene, of course, with Drew Barrymore, I was just stunned because I had no idea they were going to kill off Drew Barrymore within the first few pages. And so then, of course, I thought all bets are off. If you've killed Drew Barrymore, who's the biggest, one of the biggest stars in the movie. So then it was just such a page turner. And I grew up reading plays, so I can't say that I hadn't read many movie scripts, or actually that would have been the first movie script I read. I just never had read something so exciting. And I wish I had my script. All my stuff is in storage, but I wish I could show my script, because I know most people know the title on the script was, instead of Scream, was A Scary Movie. Mm-hmm. So I guess, I'm not surprised. I guess I can say, the fact that it became the juggernaut that it became is so thrilling, and then such an enduring piece of pop culture. And what's been the most exciting 25 years later, I always knew the movie was great, and I thought everyone in it was great, the main cast, and just that ensemble of that main ensemble. I really did not know there was such a horror community and that there were fans of The Girl in Bathroom. So that's been actually the biggest surprise. I knew the movie would be a big smash, but not, coming out, I do remember thinking, oh, they're releasing it in December, like December 20th. I was like, that's interesting. So it was fun to see just the momentum that it built. But the excitement has just been the fact that there have been so many people interested in The Girl in Bathroom, which is why you guys invited me to get to talk to you. And that's actually been the surprise, truly.
Now, I know through everything you're credited as Girl in the Bathroom. Did you have a name?
Well, that's so fans have given her a name. So I have to admit, usually as an actor, I do a whole, the given circumstances and the backstory and like, what's the Girl in Bathroom's objective and all of that stuff. But it happened so quickly. That's what I always did with the theater or any character, whether it be the theater or the film. It happened so quickly that I have to admit, I just was winging it. So I didn't come up with the name for Girl in the Bathroom, but fans have written, they write the greatest, funniest questions and comments. Some of them will say, what's the Girl in Bathroom's name? Are you sad you didn't have a name? And this other fan recently was like, I've decided her name is Stacy. She said, I decided that when I saw it in 1996 that her name was Stacy, and I still believe it should stay Stacy. So I said, Stacy it is. So I thought, I actually like that they didn't give her a name, because I just think it's so Girl in Bathroom. I just think it's so funny. And definitely you remember her as the Girl in Bathroom. It's a good, if she had a name, people might be like, who's Stacy? Who is Stacy again? So I kind of like, and then the cheerleader was cheerleader in bathroom.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, when I told my brother that I was doing this interview, he was like, "Oh, she was one of the cheerleaders, right?" I said, "There was only one cheerleader." I said, "The blonde was the cheerleader, and then there was the girl in the bathroom." He's like, "Oh, okay." So he didn't know. He thought they were. I was like, so then I sent him a picture. I was like, "See, there was only one cheerleader."
Yeah, you have the hot blonde cheerleader, and then me. They've given me that hideous. It was good. I mean, it's funny that your brother thought there were two cheerleaders. I couldn't have been more nerdy looking and preppy looking, geeky looking compared to the cheerleader. But in the end, I think it was a good contrast. The mom high waisted khakis. I was so embarrassed about. They tried me out in the purple top, of course, and then a purple mini skirt with these funny purple velvet shoes that you couldn't see. But Wes Craven came into the costume trailer and he was like, he nixed the purple skirt and wanted the khakis. But I did think that was a good contrast to the the blonde, beautiful blonde cheerleader, and just a good costume contrast for sure.
You know,
I think
the
it
girl
did
in the
its
bathroom-
job. I think it did its job because I know exactly what you were wearing. I mean,
Yeah.
I can picture it in my head. So it definitely worked. I think that it did what it was supposed to do.
Yeah. And I haven't posted it on Facebook or Instagram, but this cartoonist just maybe a couple months ago did these amazing caricatures of me and the cheerleader down to he makes my mole look super huge, super huge. And I mean, they're so funny, the exact costume, hair, everything. And then he puts like little caption bubbles, like with the "You are pathetic" line, and just some of our lines for each of us. And these caricatures, I asked the artist, I said, can I post these? But of course, make sure he has the credit. But I've never done that. So I just want to make sure I credit him correctly. And I'm so not gifted technology wise, but he published those on Instagram, and they're just so funny. DonnaJean, did you raise your hand?
Oh yeah, about technological.
I know. Because of my marriage, I'm so behind with the living under a rock. But yeah, these caricatures are hilarious. And then all the fan questions, like one fan was like, "Did you get to keep your costume?" And I was like, are you kidding? Even if I did get to keep it. Although now people are saying, of course, I didn't even think to ask to keep it. But now with the conventions, some of the convention owners and workers and part of the horror community are like, it would be great if you could have your costume and Leonora have the cheerleading costume to wear to the conventions. And
an in costume photo op.
Yeah.
Those are big right now.
Yeah.
We did use, you can't. So yeah, I now, of course, I wish I had it, but I'm sure I could find, obviously I know I can get khakis somewhere, and so I can replicate it. I think we did use, you can't really see, I had a little mini backpack that I had my makeup in, and that was my actual mini backpack. And then I came up to Santa Rosa with a second mini backpack, a black one, and Leonora, the cheerleader, used that mini backpack. So I thought it was funny. Well, I think I bought the two mini backpacks because I was like, I got to give the costume people a choice. Not that you have to they didn't say bring my own props, but I thought the mini backpacks were the in thing at the time. So
They were. I was in high school at that time, so they definitely were. And I do remember you guys having them in the movie. I graduated. I graduated 6 months before the movie came out, so I can relate.
I did see. I was so embarrassed with that haircut and with the bright green barrettes, and not. I know Kim Kardashian is all over. She's just in the zeitgeist. But I saw they published a picture from like her high school years. She had the exact same little bob haircut and two white barrettes. And I was like, Kim Kardashian was sporting that look. I mean, she was much prettier than the girl in bathroom, but I was when I saw that, I was like, okay, that was kind of capturing that moment with the barrettes, and everyone teases me about the barrettes, but that was what I was given to wear. But I thought, like you were saying, Jen, it's a good contrast to the cheerleader, and people remember everything.
Yeah, I mean, I remember your lines. I remember the cheer. Well, I remember all the lines. I watched the movie a lot.
Yeah.
Now, have you watched all the movies, including your own?
I've seen Scream a bunch of times, and every time I watch it, initially just at the time in 1996, just in that cast and crew screening, the premiere, I flew home from LA to Virginia when it opened on December 20th to see, like, my parents invited all of our church friends. I was raised Catholic. I was like, did you tell the church friends what they're getting into? And then some other family friends. That was how I got this huge Scream banner. Was my dad went up to the theater manager, and it's so large. I wish I could show the whole thing. But he said, my daughter's in the movie. And the theater manager was like, here, you can have this banner. And it's huge.
Wow, that's nice.
And it says, make your last breath count. So I was thinking of so now have seen Scream more recently, just catching it on cable, and I'm always excited. I always see new things each time viewing it. I saw Scream 2, I think, in the movie theater. I haven't seen Scream 3 and 4. And then, of course, I'm dying to see the new Scream, but I haven't seen it. So
I have seen Scream 5 enough for all of us. The new one I've already seen 5 times.
Oh my God, I love it. I made a friend. I know we can't say spoilers. I did have a new fan friend. I was like, just give me all the spoilers. But did you like it?
I absolutely loved it. And my husband and I actually did a spoiler like with Easter eggs. So we did like an Easter egg type video for our channel.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
We found over like 70 Easter eggs. So yeah, there's a ton of stuff. This one really, really plays a lot of like homage to the previous Scream movies, which was nice.
Okay. And is the homage, do they really tribute the first one the most of the first four?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's mostly the first one.
Say again.
It's mostly the first one.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you and your husband found 70 Easter eggs. That's so cool.
Yeah.
I have had some fans write, well, they're always like, we want the bathroom girls to come back. Have you been asked to come back? Or fans will say, we were so hoping you'd show up in this new Scream, the fifth Scream.
Well, they could have. They didn't die.
Right. We're still alive.
You didn't die. And let me tell you, there is an opportunity. So in Scream 5, there is a mother that's introduced.
Yes.
We only have a name. We don't have a face.
Yeah.
So there is an opportunity.
Some of the fans, that's what they've been saying.
Yeah.
That they've been they're like, we have an opportunity. We see where Girl in the Bathroom could definitely show back up. And so one fan, I was like, he had a really good theory worked out. And I said, Kevin Williamson's on Instagram, just write it. Because this fan was wanting to do a fan film. And I said, it's such a good idea. Or he was not a fan film, but he was going to share his theory to fans on a podcast. And I said how he had worked it out, I thought was clever. And I said, you're welcome to do whatever you want with your idea, but it's such a good idea. Why don't you write Kevin Williamson first? But yeah, actually he was the first fan. And then you and some other fans are like, there's a place for Girl in Bathroom in the sixth one.
Yes. Yeah.
So I that would be so exciting. And then pre this new one, fans over the years, will say the bathroom girls are still alive. We want them to come back, or maybe they can be the killers in one of the next Screams. What I think would be so funny is if we showed up and we're in the exact same clothes. like the cheerleader's never taken her cheerleading outfit off. But it would be, I know Leonora, the cheerleader, would be so excited, as well as I would to come back in an iteration. Hopefully they'll just keep making scream after scream, and then and then we could appear.
You know, the cheerleader's friend, the bathroom girl, was actually struck me as being the very nice one compared to the cheerleader. You know, kind of the one kind of saying, hey, give her a break kind of thing, you know, where she wasn't quite so nee.
That's exactly when you said the give her a break, that's one of my favorite lines I get to say, and I can't believe that she and I are talking about such a grisly murder. And then when I say, cut some slack, she watched her mom get butchered. Like it's like we're at the mall, walking in a mall, and talking about how Sydney watched her mom get butchered. And the fact that I am nice enough to say, cut some slack, but that's the biggest my heart can expand. But I did like how, I mean, the cheerleaders saying the most deranged, just crazy things that I liked. The girl in bathroom couldn't even go to where the cheerleader was going, that when they start the little conversation in the bathroom stall, and I'm like, why would she do that? Why would she lie about it? And then
I actually have a theory as to how that works into like the new ones, but I don't want to spoil anything for you. So,
will you tell me? Do you want to tell? You can tell me now, or do you want to tell me, or will it ruin it for you? You can tell me, unless it'll ruin it for the audience,
for other people.
I mean, well, if anyone hasn't seen the movie yet, obviously.
Okay.
Just
wait. If anybody doesn't want a spoiler, turn it off for a minute.
Or
so if you don't want a spoiler, just like walk out of the room.
Go get a coffee.
Yeah, go get something to drink. So in the new one, you know, I hope everyone knows that Billy Loomis is back, but he's like in someone's head, and it turns out that he is this girl's father, because Billy cheated on Sid. Well, what if he was cheating on Sid with the bathroom girl, and that's why she's a little sympathetic.
Right.
Oh.
Right.
That bathroom girl might not have been so nice.
Right, because I felt so guilty about being getting it on with her man without her knowing, plus her dealing with all of these, her mom being murdered, and okay, that is so funny, because I love, that's a new layer I've learned just from you, Jennifer, saying that. So that is so funny, because you would think being the nerdy girl that I would just kind of echo what the cheerleader was saying if I wanted her to approve of me, you know, to get in her good graces. And and my little bathroom girl does not take any bait, take any of the cheerleaders' bait. And so that is so clever.
Yeah, and there's like a scene where the daughter, you know, she says that how she found out who her father was is because her mom like kept these like journals from high school, and that just seems like something that bathroom girl would do.
And then the line, someone did mention, and that goes along with what you're saying. Then what would Sydney want with Steve? She has her own bubble butt boyfriend Billy, like that I would be mad that you know what, that Billy's splitting his attention, or she's technically the girlfriend, Sydney, and then I'm just the little one on the side, who's totally jealous, but then feeling guilty about, I love all the layers. The girl in bathroom has a complex present going on and past, and it is so fun to see, like with Jennifer, what you were saying, just all the layers that the fans find. And I just think that's so exciting. That's been really exciting, especially recently. Yeah.
You have been the bathroom girl has been a part of many people's lives through growing up and become so recognizable. And that's got to be so fulfilling to know.
But with one of my new Scream friends, he had mentioned this summer when kind of all of this new attention for the girl in bathroom started, he mentioned to me why the bathroom scene resonated so much with him was that he had been bullied very badly in high school, and that kids made fun of what his mother did for a living. And so his experience really was, I mean, his mother wasn't butchered, but mirroring Sydney's experience. So he could really relate to what Sydney was going through, particularly in that bathroom scene, hearing the awful things that the cheerleaders sang. And even though I'm trying to reason with the cheerleader, it's not like I'm stopping her from saying it. And of course, I don't know Nev Campbell's in the bathroom hearing it. But I have heard from that friend was the first time I heard how much it resonated with fans, and then other fans have said the same thing to me, and that really does mean a lot. I think because I was 23 at the time, I was removed. Well, I didn't go because of going to Duke Ellington School of the Arts. There were no cliques because it was performing arts high school. There were no high school cliques. Everyone was like a little utopia. So I didn't have that typical high school experience. So that I would have had if I'd gone to my neighborhood high school. But I had a little bit at junior high, but nothing that I could really draw on personally, because my high school experience was different. But I know so many people, of course, have that, suffer so much bullying, and kids even starting in elementary school are just brutal if they see something about another child they want to make fun of. That it seems like it starts at such a young age, and then by high school they're just full on bullies. And so that, just hearing from the fans about how that scene affected them, that's really been special and eye-opening. And other people have said they like that scene, just expositionally, what you learn about Nev Campbell and just some of the information that you get from the cheerleader and the girl in bathroom, that kind of gives some good, just gives good information going forward.
So we were talking before we hit record, and mentioned here a little bit about the conventions and the possibility of being in costume and all that kind of stuff. So I was thinking about, and I don't know if this is something you could do, but those drawings that the that artist did, that if he would be agreeable to them, you might even be able to bring them to some of the shows that you're attending, the conventions, and autograph them for people. It sounds like the kind of thing people might love.
I'm so glad you mentioned that, because I started to think of that, and I just would need to get in contact with him, because then I would have to I think because the pictures are so well done, the colors are so vivid and brilliant, just eye-popping colors of the two costumes.
Especially if you're both there, it could be kind of like a...
I'm really hoping, I haven't gotten to talk to Leonora haven't gotten to talk to Leonora in a while, so I'm hoping that she'll want to participate in the conventions, because it would be so fun to have the both of us there together, just because I think we go as a pair, and I think it'd be fun for the fans just to be in the booth together, or we went from the bathroom stall to the convention stall,
right.
But that would be so fun if she decided she wanted to participate. So we'll see on that end. But yeah, I was thinking with the cartoon, the caricature pictures, that it would be so fun for the fans, and something different than what they're used to having be signed. And yeah.
So we were talking also a little bit about where you're going to be.
Okay.
I know you're going to be at the Tidewater Horror Con in September. That's in Norfolk, Virginia, I think.
Yep. At the Wyndham Hotel. And then first one coming up, the Four State Comic-Con, and that's April 30th and May 1st in Hagerstown, Maryland. And then the next one, as far as chronological, is the Maryland Pop and Horror Convention, which is August 27th and 28th in Maryland. And then the Tidewater Convention, September 9th, 10th, and 11th. And then I thought on my Facebook page, when I start getting more conventions that are confirmed, I'll just start, I guess, posting them on my Facebook page. And then I imagine Chris Majors, my booking agent, will start advertising, I'm guessing, on his website. And then I know Matt Burns with the Four State Comic-Con, he did a nice announcement on his Facebook page, and I think I've got to make sure to share it on my Facebook page. So I'm learning as I go, making sure to get all the shares right, and getting all my communication out there, because I know the fans are super excited. And
I'm actually involved with a group on Facebook called the Horror Convention and Event Page.
oh, that's so great then for the fans. That way they can track throughout the year. Because yes, some new fans have been asking, like, will you be at, there's one in Florida, or there's some possible ones, and there's one in Florida, one in Idaho, that convention owners have talked to me about, that I just need to pass on to Chris Majors. But then fans are like, are you going to come to Texas? And they've named some of the conventions. So I'll just let Chris know all the different questions, convention questions people are asking. Because each day when I open my Facebook page, I'm like, oh wow, there's just excitement, and yeah, just lots of questions, like fans saying, let us know when you know exactly where you're going to be, or when you're going to be coming to their specific state. So I've always had really successful TV writer and actor friends who have been invited to Comic-Con. So I've always known about Comic-Con, and now it's just been and I knew about that TV show Supernatural has a big convention.
Yes, it
community.
does.
Say again. Wait,
It does have it has a huge fan base.
Yeah,
conventions just about it.
My friend, so a good classmate from Northwestern, I haven't seen Supernatural, but his name is Rob Benedict, and was a good friend,
yes,
and classmate from Northwestern. We were in a play together. I had a total crush on him. And so I know he posts a lot about the Supernatural conventions, and I know his band also plays at the conventions as well. And
they are amazing.
Yeah, isn't his band really?
Yeah, they are great.
The other guitar player, Michael Borja, well, I think goes now by Michael Borja. We played softball together. He was a Northwesterner too. But finding out about the whole horror convention scene has just been, not to sound cheesy, but really mind-blowing. I just am so thrilled, and being invited. I've been invited into different horror groups online, and got to participate in a group discussion last week. And it's just a really welcoming, I mean, as you guys know, because you're part of the community, just so welcoming. And it's been, especially with kind of coming out of my shell here and trying to get back to New York, it's been really great for my self-esteem, and just kind of helping me get back to where I was pre my marriage, and feeling like starting to get back into my acting career. And some filmmakers have reached out to see if I want to be in their film, and so that's
Fantastic.
been really nice and fun. So I never dreamed I truly never dreamed the girl in bathroom would get to go on this journey, but it has been really good for me. It's such a gift if you've paid as a fan to paid the fee to get in to and saved up your money to go, to really have that FaceTime. I mean, I would be, I'm not Robert Englund or Dee Wallace, with their amazing resumes, but just, I always think it's so fun to get to know. I mean, I've not been in this position of, never been at a convention or talking to fans, but I love meeting people anyways. And I love just learning who people are and their journey. And so I know it would be so fun. Yeah. Just to know who each person is and have a really meaningful exchange, I think would make it so nice for sure.
It really
And
is.
another actor that is absolutely like that is Matt Lillard.
Yeah.
Is he? I'm so.
He's amazing. He definitely gets brought back to conventions over and over and over simply for how he interacts with his fans. If there are people in line that are disabled or have children, he brings them to the front of the line, so that they don't have to wait.
Wow.
And when we met him, we had our girls were small at the time. They're teenagers now, but they were small. And he actually got down on his knees and he went into Shaggy's voice because he figured that's where he could connect with them because they were little.
Yeah.
So he just takes the time to talk to you, and he talks to you just like you're a regular person, not that you're someone paying to meet him.
Right. Oh, right. No, I think that quality of making it, just a meaningful, I agree. I agree. I totally agree. And I've heard that from other people in the community, that he's just really lovely and makes it so exciting for the people that have come to see him and some of the others. It would have been, I didn't get to know him. I think he's amazing in the film, and I've heard amazing things. I didn't get to know, I got to know Skeet pretty well. I had some intersections with David Arquette. Oh, well, I will say it's too embarrassing. I was waiting table. Well, I just say it. I was waiting table. So after I did Scream, I still had to have, a day job to pay the rent and bills. And I was waiting tables at this little Beverly Hills. Well, it was a big Beverly Hills restaurant, and Matthew Lillard was in my section. And I was like, oh no, this is so embarrassing, because I knew he wouldn't. And I knew he wasn't going to be like, hey, it's the girl in bathroom. But I did, I think I did, because there were a lot of celebrities that would come to that restaurant, and I just always just took their order. I never wanted to fan out or anything, but I did. Luckily, it wasn't a busy day, and I said, "Oh, I was in Scream." It was just very awkward, and he couldn't have been nicer, because, and I think we had a conversation like what he was going to be working on next, and he really took his time, and I think was tickled that I was in the movie with him, but we just hadn't met before. The thing I love with someone like him or Rob Benedict, just that actors who are just down to earth. I mean, to me, teachers and first responders, those to me are the big people and heroes to me in my life. And so it's always so refreshing when actors are just don't see themselves as above everybody. I was going to say, I have so many holes well, horror holes. I haven't seen Cujo, so I have a lot to catch up with on Dee Wallace. I haven't seen The Nightmare on Elm Street, so the horror community are like, we want to be the ones to show you.
One of the movies you have to see with Dee Wallace is The Frighteners.
The Frighteners. Okay.
Michael J. Fox is in that as well. It is so wonderful. And John Astin.
Wow.
Wonderful.
Wow. Okay. I'm glad to. Okay. The Frighteners. Well,
It's
I feel
also
so
funny.
excited. Say again.
It's also funny.
Oh, it is? Okay. That I need, especially with my, that was why I could handle Scream, was a little bit of the relief with the comic relief.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm excited. I finally saw Halloween, the first two Halloweens, and now I used to just be too scared, but I'm excited to see Wes Craven, The Hills Have Eyes, The Last House on the Left, and then do his Nightmare on Elm Street, and then all the Friday the 13th. So really the only one, I of course have seen Psycho. I saw one of the Pet Cemeteries, and that that was really where I think I drew. It's like, that's all I can handle. The most I could do has been psychological thrillers, and those terrify me. So I thought, oh, there's no way I can make it through the horror films. But now I know I can handle it.
I kind of think sometimes, especially if you're dealing with PTSD, you have to be aware of what are your triggers and is this a kind of horror that you can do? And some you can and some you can't.
And some, okay. I always think, no, I'm glad you bring that up. I always think whatever's happens more, that what's happening to the final girl or any of the women that of course it's going to happen to me. Do you all ever remember that movie Jagged Edge with Jeff Bridges and Glenn Close? I know I'm older than you guys. Well, if you like Jeff Bridges,
I'm older than you. I just don't remember it. Oh, bad memory.
Well, it's a great. The reason I bring it up, that was the movie that scared the tar out of me, and I won't give it away. But yes, and if you like Jeff Bridges and Glenn Close, but that movie, I literally, you can't see here, but the doors in Glenn Close's house are the exact same doors where you can like punch. Well, no, I don't want to give anything away because you haven't seen it, but it's kind of like I literally thought what happened to the women in that movie. And I was in elementary school, and that movie I had to go, and I was never a scared little kid, but I had to go sleep next to my mom. But if you haven't seen that one, I think it's so good.
I will check it out.
Yeah.
I think we should probably get around to wrapping it up. And thank you so much for spending this time with us. It has been a delight and an honor. And I can't wait to meet you in person. And
hopefully I will get to at some point.
I feel that we're all going, our little triumvirate is going well, and I also, because we have to see each other because I have a lot more behind the scenes juicy stuff that wouldn't be wouldn't be appropriate for public, but I have fun behind the scenes Scream stuff and supernatural stuff. So we have I want our trio to continue. So yes, I thank you so much for having me.
It absolutely shall happen.